So now that I have my kick drum figured out, which is going to be the main dynamic element of this mix, I'm actually going to go back to my master channel. A lot of the times when we see mixing tutorials or whatever it is, it kind of flows linearly, like one thing, one thing, one thing. But the reality is that mixing is actually very much a back and forth process. As we bring one thing in, it changes the perception of another. So I'm going to start now with my master compression, now that my kick drum is feeling the way that I want it to feel. There's a number of compressors that Slate offers. The one that I prefer most of the time for Mixbus is actually the FG Red. I find it to be the most transparent. It tends to work best for something where you want more or less the same signal coming in, maybe just a little bit sweetened, as opposed to say like the FG Gray, which has this way of kind of pushing the mid-range forward a little bit. Sometimes you want that. Like in a lot of rock mixes, I tend to like that, so I'll use that. And also just the action of it as well. It seems to be conducive to that. But for most of it, I'm usually looking at this FG Red.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes.
And as my default for anything that has like a danceable back groove or you know, anything where you've got a really dominant drum like a kick drum or a snare, I'm going to start with this particular approach. It's not always going to be this, but I'd say like 9 times out of 10 this works. You turn the attack as slow as it goes, you turn the release as fast as it goes, and then back it off 1 or 2 clicks. And then you find the threshold and ratio that kind of brings out the groove the best.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice. So give me more of it, girl, if you like it. I like your everything from head to toe. That I could show you things you've never known. So go on, shine so bright, make me glow. So go crazy, mama.
So I like this 3-to-1 for this, and let me explain what I was just listening for there, because it might be a little bit weird. So basically, when I'm changing the ratio, it's this difference between sort of tightness versus like choke. So if I have the ratio very high, for example,
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me close.
It feels very choked against the kick drum. Now, if I start turning it to a very low ratio, listen to think of it in terms of like fluffiness. Listen to how the tone starts to bloom out.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized.
The tones sort of seem to overlap a little bit more. There's just more things that are kind of coming through, I guess. I mean, I'm not even really sure what the science behind that is, but to me, there's like this sort of balance between tightness and fullness that shows up around the 3-to-1 ratio in this particular case.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice.
Now, I'm going to make a couple other little adjustments. The first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this high-pass filter, and what this is it's a high-pass filter that's feeding the detector circuit of the compressor. So it's not actually high-passing the track, it's high-passing what the compressor is reacting to. Because of the way we hear low end, a louder kick drum is actually even louder in terms of its amplitude than what we're hearing. Usually the things that we hear as the loudest are the stuff that's between like the 1 to 3K range. Well, that's not where kicks are. So in order to kind of get the compressor to react to what we're hearing rather than what the actual signal level is, a high-pass filter in the detector circuit can be really useful.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging.
And once I've got the high-pass filter set, you'll notice that the compressor's not really reacting that much at all, because the kick drum was the main thing triggering it. So we can actually dig in a little bit harder with the compressor. And the benefit of that is that we can then get a little bit more of the swing from the compressor and a little bit more of the glue from the compressor going.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice. So give me more of it, girl, if you like it. I like your air.
And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of makeup gain, just so I can kind of get a balanced level, so I can sort of compare before and after and know exactly what I'm really hearing. So here's the before.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm.
You can hear I lose a lot off of that kick. So let's turn this up a bit.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice. So give me more.
By keeping that kick in check and by keeping this compression on there, we can actually bring everything forward in the mix, and it sounds pretty good. Now, I do like to experiment with this drive knob. A lot of the times I leave it at 0. It changes the feel of the drums mostly.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice. So give me more of it.
It's actually doing something nice to the vocal. It's giving it a little bit more low mid presence. So maybe I will find sort of like a middle ground in there with the drive knob. See if I can find something that sounds like it balances things out pretty nicely.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice. So give me more of it, girl, if you like it. I like your everything from head to.
There we go. That sounds pretty darn good right there.
Force taking over, we're catching vibes. Pulling me closer, baby, I'm magnetized. So used to dodging feelings, but this feels nice.
Nice. I like it.